Hello, friends, and a very warm welcome to the channel. Today, we begin a journey into one of the most fascinating books ever written, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Have you ever paused to wonder, how did a species of hairless apes, once struggling to survive in a small corner of Africa, rise to dominate the entire planet? How did we go from hunting and gathering in the wild to building cities, nations, and empires? From crafting simple stone tools to creating artificial intelligence. This isn't just history, it's the story of us. And I guarantee you this: after listening to this audiobook, you will never look at the world, your past, or even yourself in the same way again. This book doesn't just inform, it shakes the very foundations of how you see reality. But here's the puzzle. Why is it that despite our astonishing progress, we still feel restless? Why, even with technology, wealth, and comfort, do we struggle with emptiness? Why do we run endlessly after money, cling to myths, and fight in the name of gods and nations? In Sapiens, Harari answers these whys with breathtaking clarity. He shows us why we think the way we do, why our societies function as they do, and how much of our lives are shaped by stories that only exist in our collective imagination. So imagine this. You step into a time machine and travel back 70,000 years. You see a small group of ordinary animals, no stronger or faster than lions or wolves, but armed with something invisible: imagination. And with that power, these animals, Homo sapiens, rewrite the fate of the world. This audiobook is for those who are not satisfied with simply existing. It is for those who want to dig deeper, who dare to ask uncomfortable questions. Why am I here? What is the truth behind our beliefs? Are we free, or just characters inside a grand shared myth? But a warning: this journey is not for the faint-hearted. If you are afraid of questioning your deepest beliefs, if you're not ready to face the possibility that your world is built on imagined realities, then perhaps this isn't for you. But if you have the courage, then get ready, because the way you see the world is about to change forever. So let's begin. The story of humans, the story of us. Chapter 1. The Cognitive Revolution. The moment we became storytellers. Close your eyes and imagine the world 70,000 years ago. It was wild, untamed, dangerous. And we, Homo sapiens, were not the only humans walking this earth. In the snowy caves of Europe lived the powerful Neanderthals, bigger, stronger, and better adapted to cold than us. In Asia, Homo erectus had already survived for nearly 2 million years, and in other corners of the world, there were more. Homo floresiensis, the so-called hobbits, and others we may never fully know. Compared to them, we sapiens were ordinary. We were weak hunters, too afraid to face lions or mammoths head-on. We survived on scraps, picking meat from carcasses left by bigger predators, catching rabbits or gathering berries. We were nothing more than a small animal clinging to survival somewhere in the middle of the food chain. By all logic, history should have forgotten us. But then, something happened. A spark, a mutation, a tiny accident in our DNA that rewired the human brain. And from that moment, everything changed. Harari calls it the cognitive revolution, the moment when an ordinary animal became the most dangerous species the world had ever seen. What was this mysterious change? It wasn't bigger muscles, it wasn't sharper claws, it was something invisible: language. Now you may say, but animals also have language. And you'd be right. Monkeys scream to warn of danger. Bees dance to share the location of flowers. Birds sing, wolves howl. But our language was different. It had a magic that no other species ever unlocked: the power of imagination. We could not only say, "There's a lion by the river." We could say, "Yesterday I saw a lion by the river." We could say, "Tomorrow let's gather and set a trap for that lion." We could discuss the past. We could plan for the future. And most revolutionary of all, we could talk about things that don't exist at all. Ghosts, gods, nations, companies, laws, money. A chimpanzee can never tell another, "If you give me bananas in monkey heaven, you'll get 10 times more after you die." But we could. And this ability to share imagined realities changed everything. Think about it. Chimpanzees can live in groups of maybe 50 or 100 before trust breaks down. They can only cooperate with those they know personally. But humans, we can work together in thousands, millions, even billions with complete strangers, all because we believe in the same stories. One soldier is willing to die for another soldier he has never met, because both believe in a story called country. Two strangers can stand in court and fight for a company because they both believe in law and justice. Thousands of workers can dedicate their lives to building temples, mosques, or cathedrals because they believe in the story of God. Even today, what are Google, Amazon, or Meta? They aren't made of stone or flesh. They are not physical things. They are stories, legal papers, codes of conduct, and ideas in people's minds. But millions believe in those stories, and because of that belief, these companies move the world. This was our superpower, and with it, Sapiens began to spread out of Africa. Everywhere we went, the world changed forever. The giant kangaroos of Australia disappeared. The mammoths of America fell to our hunting. Slowly, the Neanderthals, once stronger than us, vanished into extinction. We rose from the middle of the food chain to the very top, becoming the planet's greatest predators. And how did we do it? Not through brute strength, but through shared imagination, through stories, through myths. It was the beginning of human dominance. But hidden in this triumph was a haunting question. Did this new power truly make us happy? Was ruling the world our destiny? Or had we stepped into a trap, a web of our own making from which we could never escape? We had conquered the earth, but were we free? Or was this only the beginning of humanity's greatest deception? The answer awaits in the next chapter. The Agricultural Revolution, the biggest trap in history. Chapter 2, The Agricultural Revolution. The biggest deception in human history. When we hear the words agricultural revolution, a shining picture usually comes to mind. We imagine it as humanity's great leap forward. The moment when wandering hunters settled down, when we discovered farming, built villages, raised families, and laid the foundations of civilization. Even in schools, it is taught as a glorious milestone. Farming made us human. Farming made us progress. But Yuval Noah Harari turns this idea upside down. He says the agricultural revolution was not our greatest step forward. It was the biggest deception in history, a trap so clever, so invisible, that even today, after thousands of years, we are still caught inside it. The hunters who lived freely. Let's travel back 10,000 years. Our ancestors were hunter-gatherers. They wandered forests, rivers, and plains, hunting animals, plucking fruits, digging for roots. And what was their life like? Surprisingly, far healthier and happier than ours. They worked only a few hours a day. The rest of the time they played, relaxed, laughed, and told stories around fires. Their diet was rich and diverse. Meats, fish, berries, nuts, and vegetables, giving them nutrients modern diets often lack. They had no career stress, no unpaid loans, no endless to-do lists. They didn't worry about tomorrow. If food was found today, life was good. Tomorrow would take care of itself. They owned no permanent property, so there was little theft, no mortgages, no endless accumulation of things. Their lives were simple, light to carry, free to move, free to live, the promise of farming. And then, slowly, some humans made a new discovery. Instead of wandering, they thought, why not grow food right here? No need to roam, no need to search. Just plant seeds, wait, and harvest plenty. It seemed like the perfect solution. More food, more security, more stability. Or so they thought. But this was the deception. Because in truth, humans did not domesticate wheat. Wheat domesticated humans. The trap of wheat. Think of wheat for a moment. What does it want? It wants its stones and weeds cleared. It wants fences built to protect it. It wants to be watered, weeded, guarded from insects and animals. And who became its servants? Humans. From sunrise to sunset, men and women toiled in fields, bending backs, aching muscles, blistered hands, plowing, sowing, watering, harvesting, day after day, season after season. Life no longer revolved around freedom. It revolved around wheat. The diet narrowed. Instead of rich meats and fruits, people ate mostly grains. Malnutrition appeared. Living close to animals spread new diseases. A single bad harvest meant famine. And while population exploded, the life of the average farmer was harder, sicker, and shorter than that of the hunter-gatherer. The birth of anxiety and inequality. But the trap went deeper than the body. It captured the mind. For the first time, humans became haunted by the future. What if the rains fail? What if pests come? How do we save seeds for next year? Anxiety became a daily companion. The concept of property was born. This is my land. This is my field. This is my grain. And with property came inequality. Some owned vast lands and became kings. Most toiled endlessly on their fields. Priests, soldiers, and rulers rose above farmers, creating the first rigid classes. Exploitation, taxes, and injustice all sprouted here, in the soil of agriculture. The hunter-gatherer's carefree freedom was gone, the vicious cycle. And soon there was no way back. Farming created more food. More food fed more children. More children meant more hands to farm more land. And so the cycle tightened. More crops, more children, more mouths, more crops. A treadmill with no escape. A trap disguised as progress. The agricultural revolution didn't give us security. It gave us overpopulation, disease, malnutrition, and inequality. We traded freedom for slavery. It looked like a good bargain, but it cost us dearly. The next question. But as villages grew into towns and towns into cities, another challenge appeared. How do you control thousands of strangers living together? How do you unite millions of people who do not know each other? How do you maintain order when property, jealousy, and disputes multiply? Humanity found its answer. 3 powerful imagined systems that became the glue of society. 3 forces that still shape our world today. Money, empires, and religion. Chapter 3, The Unification of Humankind. Money, empires, and religion. After the agricultural revolution, humans stopped wandering and began living in permanent villages, towns, and eventually sprawling cities. For the first time, millions of strangers were forced to live side by side. But this gave rise to a new and terrifying challenge. How do you hold so many strangers together? How do you convince them that they belong to the same community? How do you make them trust one another, cooperate, and build something bigger than themselves? The answer lay in 3 powerful imagined systems, stories so strong that they stitched scattered tribes into a single human fabric. Stories that still rule our lives today. Those 3 great unifiers were money, empires, and religion. 1. Money, the story of trust. Imagine a world without money. You make shoes. I grow wheat. If I need shoes and you need wheat, we can trade. Simple barter. But what if I don't need shoes? Or what if your shoes are worth more than my sack of wheat? Barter quickly becomes messy. So humans invented money. But here's the question. What is money really? Is it just coins of metal? Just paper bills? Just numbers on a bank screen? Number. Money is trust. It's a story we all agree to believe. The 500 rupee note in my hand or the $100 bill in your pocket has no value on its own. It's just paper and ink, but a shopkeeper accepts it because he trusts that tomorrow someone else will accept it from him, and that someone else trusts the same. It is a never-ending circle of belief. That's why Harari calls money the most universal story ever told. It belongs to no religion, no caste, no nation. A Christian and a Muslim may argue about faith. A Hindu and an atheist may disagree about gods. But put dollars or rupees on the table, and all will accept them. Even Osama bin Laden, who declared war on America, stored his wealth in American dollars. Money doesn't divide, it unites. It allowed trade to flourish, cities to connect, and a global economy to take shape. It taught humans the most difficult skill of all, how to trust complete strangers. Without money, the modern world would collapse in a single day. 2. Empires. The political unifiers. Now think of the word empire. What comes to mind? Cruel kings, bloody wars, oppression. And yes, that is true. But empires also played another role. They pulled millions of people under one political roof. The Roman Empire united Europe and the Middle East under its laws and language. The Mauryan Empire in India, and later the Mughals, brought together diverse cultures, faiths, and communities into one system. Empires were bridges. Through them, ideas, inventions, and technologies traveled far and wide. Paper from China reached Europe. Spices from India flavored food in Arabia. Mathematics from the Middle East shaped modern science. Even today, much of our legal and political systems trace their roots back to ancient empires. Empires tore down walls of us versus them. They tried, though imperfectly, to build a bigger we. 3. Religion, the spiritual unifier. But there was something even more powerful than money in empires. Religion. Religion gave us the idea of a universal order. Rules not made by kings, not written in courts, but decreed by higher powers. Unlike tribal gods who cared only for one people, universal religions declared, "This truth is not for one tribe, not for one land, but for all humanity." Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam spread across continents. They united millions of strangers into one vast spiritual family. A Christian from Spain could meet a Christian from Morocco and call him brother. A Muslim merchant in Baghdad could trust a Muslim trader in Delhi. They had never met, yet they believed in the same God, the same scriptures, the same story. Religion gave people a shared identity, a shared purpose, and a reason to trust each other beyond blood and tribe. The three great unifiers. And so, these three inventions, money, empires, and religion, stitched humanity together. They transformed scattered tribes into global networks. They laid the foundation of a world where billions could coexist and cooperate. But this was not the end of the story. Around 500 years ago, something else began. A revolution that multiplied the power of money, empires, and religion many times over. A revolution that set humanity on the path to becoming gods themselves. That revolution was the scientific revolution. Summer Chapter 4. The Scientific Revolution. When we said we don't know, for thousands of years humanity lived under the three great unifiers, money, empires, and religion. People believed all the great answers had already been written, etched into scriptures, whispered by prophets, guarded by priests and monks. If you wanted knowledge, you went to the temple, the church, or the mosque. And the answer was always the same. The truth is in the past. Everything worth knowing is already known. For millennia, this belief ruled our world. But then about 500 years ago, something remarkable stirred in Europe. A new idea was born, simple, yet world-shaking. The idea was this: we don't know. For the first time in human history, people collectively admitted their ignorance. We confessed we didn't know the mysteries of the stars, the secrets of the human body, or even the full shape of our own planet. And the very moment we accepted that, we began to truly learn. This was the birth of the scientific revolution, the engine of science. What drove science was not faith or obedience, but curiosity and doubt. Instead of repeating what Scripture said, people began to observe with their own eyes. They experimented, they tested, they used mathematics to make sense of patterns. And when they reached conclusions, they still whispered, "This may not be the final truth. Tomorrow, new evidence may prove us wrong." This humility, this willingness to be wrong, was the true engine of science, the explosion of knowledge. Once that engine roared to life, the world was never the same. Isaac Newton explained the invisible laws of gravity. Charles Darwin revealed that we are not divine creations, but descendants of apes. Einstein shattered our understanding of time and space, proving they could bend and stretch. We discovered tiny invisible killers, germs, and learned how to fight them. We built telescopes and peered into the vastness of the cosmos. We dissected the human body like a machine and unlocked its secrets. Knowledge once crawling, now ran at lightning speed. Science and power, the deadly alliance. But science was not just about knowledge. It was also about power. Rulers and merchants quickly realized whoever controls science controlled the future. So they poured money into scientists, explorers, and inventors. And this began a new cycle. Science produced new technology. Technology gave empires and traders more power. That power created more wealth. And that wealth funded even more science. An unbreakable alliance was born: science, empire, and capitalism. Together, they reshaped the world. When Christopher Columbus set sail in search of India, Spain's queen funded him not just with ships, but with cartographers and scientists. He failed to find India but stumbled upon America and changed history. When Captain Cook reached Australia, he carried scientists and botanists on board, mapping and studying the lands he conquered. Now, conquest was no longer just about grabbing territory, it was about gathering knowledge. The modern world is born. In the last 200 years, science transformed human life more than in the previous 2,000. The Industrial Revolution gave us steam engines, electricity, and factories. We built trains that crossed continents, cars that sped across roads, and airplanes that conquered the skies. Medical science gave us vaccines and antibiotics. Life expectancy more than doubled. Diseases like smallpox and polio were eradicated. We split the atom, unlocking energy that could build entire cities or annihilate them in seconds. We reached beyond Earth itself and stood on the moon. Today, a mobile phone in your pocket can connect you instantly to the entire planet. One by one, we began to break the laws of nature. We claim powers once reserved only for gods, the triumphs and the costs. Science gave us triumphs unimaginable to our ancestors. Today, more people die of obesity than of starvation. More die of old age than of infectious disease. More take their own lives than are killed in wars. This is a historic achievement of humanity, but these powers came at a cost. We scarred the environment. We live under the constant shadow of nuclear weapons. And a haunting question lingers: has all this progress made us truly happier? Or are we now just a restless species, never satisfied, forever chasing more? The next threshold, now something even greater, is at our doorstep. For the first time in history, we no longer reshape only the outside world. We are beginning to reshape ourselves. We can reprogram DNA. We can engineer brains. We can design new beings. We stand at the edge of ending Homo sapiens and beginning something entirely new. This brings us to the final chapter, the story of the animal who became a god. Chapter 5, the animal who became God. What's next for humanity? We have journeyed across 70,000 years of history. From a fragile animal wandering the savannas of Africa, Homo sapiens rose to become the undisputed ruler of this planet. We erased other human species. We drove mighty beasts, the mammoths, the giant kangaroos, the saber-toothed cats, into extinction. We bent the laws of nature, mastered fire, split the atom, reached for the stars. We are no longer just animals. We are, in many ways, gods. But now the question is no longer about how we conquered the world. It is about what comes next, because the story of Homo sapiens may be coming to an end, and something entirely new may be about to begin. The possible futures of humanity. Harari tells us that humanity now stands at a crossroads. 3 doors lie ahead. Each one opens to a future stranger than fiction. 1. Genetic engineering. Rewriting ourselves. Until now, we reshaped the world around us. We built tools, machines, cities, and empires. But for the first time in history, we can reshape ourselves. We can reprogram our DNA. We can design children with perfect memory, stronger bodies, resistance to disease, perhaps even stop aging itself. Imagine humans who never grow old, who never forget, who are as strong as machines, yet as creative as artists. But here lies a danger. If only the wealthy can afford such transformations, society will no longer be divided into rich and poor. It will be divided into different species, one species enhanced, the other left behind. 2. Cyborg engineering, fusing with machines. The process has already begun. A hearing aid, a pacemaker, an artificial limb. These are not just medical tools. They are the first steps toward merging biology with technology. In the future, our brains may link directly with computers. We could store memories in the cloud. We could transfer our consciousness into another body or even into a machine. Immortality, once a dream of myths, may become a reality of science. But then, what happens to our humanity? Is a half machine, half human still human? If your mind lives in a robot, is it still you? What happens to the soul, the self, the essence of being? 3. Artificial intelligence, creating non-organic life. Perhaps the most radical future of all. For billions of years, life was bound to biology, to flesh, blood, and DNA. Now, for the first time, we are building an intelligence that is not biological, but digital, made of silicon and code. True AI would not just think. It could rewrite itself, upgrade itself, evolve infinitely faster than humans ever could. And if that happens, what becomes of us? Do we become its pets, kept alive like cows and buffaloes we rear for our needs? Or will it find us irrelevant and erase us altogether? The final question. So here we are, an animal who became God, standing on the edge of creating new gods of our own. But there is one problem. We still don't know what we truly want. We can reshape our bodies, we can redesign our minds, we can even rewrite our desires. But what should we desire? The real question is not what do we want? The real question is, what do we want to want? We are like irresponsible gods, holding unimaginable power in our hands, but still carrying Stone Age emotions in our hearts, and nothing could be more dangerous than that. The journey ends, or begins. We now stand at the most critical crossroads in history. One path may take us toward unimaginable glory, a future where we cure disease, end hunger, live longer, perhaps even forever. Another path may drag us into chaos, a future where our creations destroy us, where the very powers that made us gods reduce us to dust. This is the story of humanity, a story woven not just with facts and events, but with imagination, cooperation, deception, and dreams. It began with a cognitive revolution. When we first learned to tell stories, it passed through the agricultural revolution, through money, empires, and religions, and then into the scientific revolution that reshaped our very reality. And now, it stands at the doorway of a future we cannot yet see. Harari leaves us with a haunting truth. Our entire world, our nations, our economies, our identities, is built on stories we agree to believe. And if stories built this world, then stories have the power to change it too. Thank you for walking with me through this extraordinary journey, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. If this audiobook made you pause, reflect, or ask even a single new question, then this journey has been worthwhile. Don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so together we can keep exploring new books, new stories, and new ideas. Until next time, with another book, another story, and another chance to see the world differently, thank you.